2, 1.
Um, Hi, friends. We have a very, very strange episode of On Beat on Script for you today. Turns out all of my friends are busy. Brandito's emceeing a wedding. Bob's up to God knows what, probably his own wedding planning shenanigans. Rose is out with husboy, because he's playing a gig this weekend, which is really exciting. And it's my own husboy's birthday, and I wasn't gonna make him do a whole bunch of work on his birthday weekend. Um, so you're stuck with just me. Which it feels really weird not to have somebody to talk to during this. Um, so bear with me. This week we're skipping the track attack because it just seemed a little too weird to talk to myself about singles. Like I've got no one to share them with. So I mean, I've you guys, but like I don't know. I didn't know how to run that properly without feeling too awkward. But we do have 3 albums that Brandito previously picked out for me to review. Um, Up first, we're going to do Who is the Sky by David Byrne. Second, he admitted to pandering to me for this one because I'm just a big fan of Midwest emo. So we have Trying Not to Have a Thought by Algernon Cadwallader. And then last but not least, we have Play by Ed Sheeran. Um, yeah, I don't really. My name's Mel. Did I say that? I might not have said that. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Mel. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm quite literally the heart and soul of this podcast. I might not be the most knowledgeable when it comes to music, but you know, I put my blood, sweat, and tears into this bad boy. So I think that qualifies me to talk on everyone's behalf, or at least I'm gonna pretend it does. Yeah, I don't know. So first, let's just dive into David Byrne's Who is the Sky? So, for those of you who don't know David Byrne, he's a Scottish American musician, singer, songwriter, and producer, best known as the frontman of the iconic art rock band Talking Heads. And they're like best known for the track Psycho Killer and Burning Down the House, and like their list goes on and on and on. But he was born in Scotland and he originally moved to Canada, followed by Massachusetts at a young age with his parents. That led him to study at RISD, or the Rhode Island School of Design, which I'm kind of low key jealous about. And that's where he met drummer Chris France and bassist Tina Weymouth. That trio moved to New York City in 1975, and that's where they recruited their guitarist keyboardist Jerry Harrison. May's she's mad that I'm recording. She wants to go snuggle on the couch. Anyway, sorry if you hear her crying in the back, whining. It's not crying. She's just a little brat girl. She's fine though. So yeah, the trio moved to New York City in 1975, and that's where they recorded guitarist keyboardist Jerry Harrison, and that's officially when the Talking Heads were born. I know, girly, it's rough night. That group went on to release 8 albums together, the final being their 1988 album Naked, and they have since been inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they won the 2021 Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Now, post Talking Heads, David went on to start his solo career, first founding the Luca Bop Records in 1988 with the intention to introduce American audiences to global music. And then he released his debut solo album, Ray Momo, in 1989, which explored Afro-Latin sounds. As a solo artist, he's released 11 albums if you include the collaborations with Brian Eno and St. Vincent, and he's pursued work in theater, film, and television, which has led him to win an Academy Award and a Golden Globe for the Best Original Score for The Last Emperor, a Grammy for the Best Album of Original Instrumental Background Score for The Last Emperor, and he's won a Tony for American Utopia on Broadway. And now that brings us to today with Who is the Sky, which is an art pop collaboration with the Ghost Train Orchestra that is produced by Kid Harpoon, who famously works with Harry Styles, one of my faves. And this is actually his first album in 7 years. Now, this album, just to give you a little background on it, it continues to explore optimistic themes of American utopia. And his primary inspiration for the album is to create a positive contrast to everything happening in the world and like with the political climate right now. It just keeps getting heavier and darker here, but he adds some cool levity to it, which I really, really appreciate. So to dive right into the album, we start off with Everybody Laughs. Um, and this was actually, I believe, the first single he released. And in my opinion, I thought it was the perfect introduction to set the tone of the album. And it actually just made a lot of sense why he chose to release this as a single. Um, yeah, I guess we should just listen to it. I'm used to having Brandito cue those, but yeah, I guess this is where I play a little clip for you. So, boop.
What you say with gesture and expression in my imagination. Every mobile phone, in every restaurant, everyone we know, and everything you want. What you gonna do? Everything is closer, everything is true. Everybody's starting everything again. Everybody's outside now, they're coming in. Everybody's going through the garbage, looking for inspiration.
His lyricism is playful and cheery, and like we instantly jump into this optimistic theme. And I love the messaging here that everyone is going through their own unique experience, but those experiences are all very human and like we're all going through them. I'm a big fan of the messaging. His vocals in general have never been like extraordinary, but they're so unique to him and they're so extremely emotive, which I think it just makes it fun. It adds a lot of quirkiness and personality to it. Big fan there. But like the instrumentation is what really steals the show for me here. And in doing some research on the album, I actually found an interview where he's quoted saying, "I suspected that intimate orchestral arrangements would bring out the emotion I sense and there is in these songs." So like the collaboration with Ghost Train Orchestra just makes so much sense. And I really think they shine throughout this entire thing. And then that brings us to When We Are Singing. So When We Are Singing opens up with like extremely raw vocals and very, very limited instrumentation. So when the orchestra starts to like pop off, it has such a good buildup. And if you guys have been here for a little bit, you'll know I'm a big sucker for a song with buildup. Plus like big bonus points for the little funky flair he throws in there. Now, and we've got the line, we've got 1 foot in the pearly gates and 1 foot in the flames. Like he's adding this realization that of mortality, which is, a little dark, but his ridiculous non-lyrical vocals, like it adds such a cool levity to the subject matter and it just makes it way more digestible and fun. And like life's just way more fun when we're singing. Yeah, I don't know. I so far I'm like we're off to a fun start. I'm really, really enjoying the vibe. That brings us to My Apartment Is My Friend.
So forgive me if I hesitate, if a tear comes now and then. You stood by me when darkness fell. My apartment is my friend. My apartment is my friend.
When this track opens up, it seems to be an upbeat love song. And when we hit the chorus, we realize it is a love song, but it's not a love song for a person. It's for his apartment. I mean, we should have known from the title, but just in case. To be fair, it makes a lot of sense to me that a New Yorker would write a love song for their apartment. It's just that's a safe space for them. The lyrics are extremely straightforward, and I get the feeling that this is a story within a larger story, and that now this album is starting to kind of feel like a sketch act to me, which, knowing that he's previously done American Utopia on Broadway, it makes sense. But I'm getting this feeling that you could get so much more out of this if you added some visuals. And anybody who knows Talking Heads, I'm sure you know about like the big suit David wore in Stop Making Sense, which was inspired by Japanese theater, and this is giving like big big suit vibes. So I think like paired with some like really hyperbolic and surreal imagery, this would just like really pop off. And I think like seeing this in theater would make actually a huge difference for me. I hear you she's moaning. Now next up we have A Door Called No.
Then I met a girl, she gave me a kiss. I discovered a world where the door says yes. I began to see things, there's more and not less. Every element trees shouting out yes.
She's snoring. Sorry, I'm gonna obsess over my dog in between all of these. Okay, so anyway, on A Door Called No, in my personal opinion, I think we get his best vocals here. It's like a super on the nose metaphor for discrimination, but I again can see exactly how this would work in theater. And he again successfully navigates like a super heavy topic, but ends it on such a positive note, showing that love can quite literally open doors, or at least you find yourself in a space that you feel welcome as is. And yeah, again, the messaging here, even though it's like really heavy, it's hopeful, and like he's making it fun. Next, next we stay on the topic of love, and we get Haley Williams to debate the reason for it, and he brought in a mariachi band to set the vibe, which is just, there's a lot going on here.
Love is here, love is gone, love will prove that anyone can change their mind. Love is time, love is space, love will help you find a place to come inside. What is the reason for it? Why is it there? Is it my body or my brain?
This is my favorite track. I swear it's not because I'm like totally biased and I very openly stan Haley Williams, but like this ends up being my favorite track on the album by far. Like I heard it, I knew I was probably gonna pick it as my favorite. Confirmed, obsessed. These are by far my favorite instrumentals. The combo of the mariachi band with the orchestra is not something I would have expected at all. The way they trade verses, I just think they bounce off of each other so well. Obsessed. And this is also one of the only songs that I can see actually fitting into my daily life, where like everything else is so far has been a really cool like experience and I've enjoyed it, but I don't see when I would ever want to listen to again. Like I don't see when I would want to dive back into like When We Are Singing, because at points like I love the positivity, I love the messaging, but like for every day it kind of gets a little too much, you know? And then we move on to I met the Buddha at a downtown party.
He said, I had to retire from that enlightenment biz. I don't have the answers, and I never did. They think I can help them, but I'm not that smart. So here, have a piece of this blueberry tart.
This is one where the storytelling is like so fun and far-fetched that the subject matter of spirituality and enlightenment actually becomes like super, super digestible again. And we get like more non-lyrical vocals, which like David's just seems to be having a lot of fun with. These ones don't seem as ridiculous to me. Like they actually kind of like, you know, the texture makes sense and the noises make sense. But yeah, I don't know. It's fun. I'm having a good time. Now we move on to Don't Be Like That. This is even more ridiculous non-lyrical vocals. And now this is the point where it clicked for me that he's stimming when he does this. Now, again, in my research, I saw that he recently self-diagnosed himself as autistic, and I feel like this is potentially a nod to that and how what he does for like coping mechanisms. So I probably should have pulled up the definition of stimming. Let me pull it up right now to for anybody who's never heard that term. Okay, so stimming refers to like repetitive rhythmic movements or actions that like people will engage with to help regulate their emotions or to like process things. So yeah, you have like motor stimming, tactical stimming if you're like touching something, visual stimming, or like here you have like auditory stimming where he's just making like repetitive sounds like humming. So don't quote me on it. I don't know if that's like legit or not, but like I really just knowing that feel like that's a little subtle nod to that, which I think is pretty cool. But this is also kind of where the album starts to lose me a little bit. Like this is fine, but in comparison to everything else he's been doing, it's been very theatrical and fun, and this is just like kind of boring in comparison, which is, I don't know, a little sad, but I still respect it. Now, next we have the avant-garde.
Passionate life, it's ahead of the curve, it's deceptively waiting, profoundly absurd. Well, it's whatever fits, it's the avant-garde, and it doesn't mean shit, it's the avant-garde.
Now, this one, I'm a big fan of the instrumentals, but the song itself feels like way too on the nose for me. And like this album seems to be embodying avant-garde, but I guess in a sense he's trying to make it more digestible and less cerebral, but I don't know. It just seems like too on the nose. He's got the lyrics, it's deceptively weighty, profoundly absurd, it's whatever fits, it's the avant-garde, and it doesn't mean shit, it's the avant-garde, which also kind of makes me feel like maybe he's just making fun of himself a little bit. Like he knows how like absurd some of this is, but it's art. It's art. It's avant-garde. You put that label on it and like no one can judge you because it's just like, ooh, it's so highbrow. So interesting song. Don't know if it's my favorite. I know it's not my favorite, actually, I should say. And next we have Moisturizing Things.
I might look like a baby, but inside I'm a man. I think and I talk, I'm still who I am. And when we go out, they ask for ID. It's not always easy when you look like you're 3.
Now, we love a king that moisturizes, but this song is like just It creeps me out. It makes me so uncomfortable. Now, this is probably a shot at beauty standards and how people are so desperate to like look like they haven't aged, which I really, really appreciate. But the wife waking up to a baby in her bed like just made me really uncomfortable. Again, as a theater piece, I can like see it all playing out, and I actually think it would be hilarious. And adding visuals might help make this less off-putting for me if you like really, really lean into the surrealism of it all. Like he's just this like giant, like 6 foot tall baby or something like fully ridiculous. But as just like a song, it's like kind of freaking me out a little bit and making me uncomfortable, which I'm sure was partially his intention, but still. Okay, so up next we have I'm an Outsider.
Visit members only, the exclusive kind. Is it too expensive? The world of your mind.
Which is another just very obvious metaphor, and he's using the bouncer of like an exclusive nightclub to represent someone not letting him get close to them. Which I mean, it makes sense. It's just, again, it's very obvious. It doesn't feel, after hearing a door called no, this doesn't feel new to me. And this one just becomes very skippable. And I also feel like the album placement is completely wrong. Like maybe this leading into a door called no would make it make more sense, or at least have this song appear on the album first. But like, in my opinion, we've already worked out this story. And I'm just not sure why we're coming back to it now. Very, very specific complaint. I'm sure not everyone's going to take it that seriously, but I don't know. This was missable. Now she explains things to me.
She explains what a character really meant. What was their motive? What was their intent? She explains the things that we're supposed to infer. Well, how come it's all so obvious to her?
I don't know if I have a quote here, and I'm assuming David is the one who said it, but just to back myself up in case I'm wrong, which is very possible. I get a lot of things wrong. The intention of this song was to describe what the world is like to somebody with autism. Like I said earlier, he recently self-diagnosed himself. And content-wise, I think he does a really good job expressing that. But like, again, this one kind of bores me a little bit. So much on this album is standing out, and I do think low points are needed for pacing, but between I'm an Outsider and now she explains things to me, he's kind of losing me a little bit. Like, and I don't know, I don't want to be lost. I've been enjoying this like surreal little story he's telling. And then last but not least, he brings us to the truth.
We're poor little things, pathetic young dears, as fragile as toast, and driven by fear.
For me, we end things on a much better note. Like the instrumentals pick back up. We have this reggaeton vibe. It seems to build up to almost like Middle Eastern influences. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there musically. I have a very naive musical ear and I'm learning, but I definitely am not good at picking up specifics. And this one has the most standout buildup for me, where he's like layering in more instrumentals, and like I really feel like he goes all out with his vocals. And after navigating a lot of tough realities, we close things out like fully accepting the truth. And I just thought it was a really, really perfect way to end the album, and this ends up being my second favorite. Also for the fact that it just feels like I can listen to this whenever. I guess that brings me to my conclusions. This is so fast when it's only one person. I have no one to tell me I'm wrong. Like, Brandito isn't here to argue with me. Bob's not here to agree with me. And I don't know. It feels so weird. I fucking flew through that. Anyway, so my closing thoughts. It feels incredibly authentic, and he's clearly not trying to prove anything to anyone. I fully embrace that he's diving all into this, doesn't give a shit about what people think attitude. But at the same time, that attitude kind of left us with an album that's a great art piece, but I don't see how it would fit in my life past this. Like I said, my top tracks are What's the Reason for It and Truth. And the Truth, most likely because he like abandons that surrealism completely. And the focus is simply on like the messaging and blending like really, really cool instrumentals together. I genuinely think this should have been released as a live show, either before or with it as an album. And I know he announced a tour, and I'm really, really, really hoping he's going all out for his tour's production, because I think the proper visuals could like completely change my perspective from kind of laughing at him to laughing with him at points. Like, because at some points it becomes too ridiculous where it's hard to take seriously. And while I'm sure that's his intent and it's what's adding a little bit of levity to the subject matter here, it doesn't make it a very good listen, in my opinion. That's maybe a little harsh. My rating still isn't harsh, because I really, really, really do appreciate it as a piece, and I've had a lot of fun listening to it. And again, I thought it was really, really experimental, and he's doing a lot of really fun things. So my rating for it is a 7.8. It was close to tipping that 8, but I couldn't quite get it there. Man, and that's it for Who's the Sky by David Byrne. It was a really cool listen. I never listened to anything like it before. I mean, unless you listen to other David Byrne. All right. Yeah, I guess this is the point where I thank you guys for hanging out with me and being my friends when I didn't have any other friends and they all abandoned me. Yeah, I don't know. This is On Beat Off Script. Normally I have some friends with me. Today you're stuck with just me. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Mwah!
3, 2, 1.